morning is broken, and we are your consecrated hosts.
I am Father Jeff, consecrated by holy orders.
I'm Jonathan, consecrated by baptism.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The day after.
After what?
The day after some big thing that happened yesterday.
Oh.
But of course, you know, did you stay up and watch? I mean, are you a watcher of politics, or not politics, but election things?
A little bit off and on, you know, it depends on the year.
Yeah. Did you follow things last night?
More off. Last night was more off and on. You know, I think 4 years ago, everyone just assumed Hillary was going to win. And so I was like, I don't need to watch. And then I looked up on Twitter.
And you're like,
what's
happening?
Yeah, so then I was tuned in, and it was interesting. But last night, you know,
I'm a flipper. I go from channel to channel. It's like, okay, what are they saying on the local, or, you know, on the network stations? What are they saying on the cable stations? What's this cable station saying? What's that cable station saying? You know, so I'm constantly, I don't have like my one that I keep on, but I kind of, you know, it is one of those things that you do kind of want to see, and especially when you're not exactly sure what, you know, how things are going to unfold, and so here we are. You know, some people say they saw it coming. Others are like, nope, this isn't what was gonna happen at all. But you know, and we were done talking about politics, so we're not going to talk about politics today.
Nope, God's still in control, and our duty still remains the same.
And whatever happens going forward and how it all unfolds, there we go. Yeah. Today is even bigger than the day after election.
Well, Joshua lost his first tooth.
That is not what I was talking about, but let's talk about that.
Yeah.
His first tooth. Did it fall out? Did he knock it out? Did it get pulled? What the heck?
That's a great story. I have video.
Oh, dear.
I will post the video. He has two of his bottom front teeth, not his two top teeth.
Uh-huh.
The two bottom ones have been very loose. And I saw a few years ago someone do this. I was like, well, let's try it.
Uh-oh.
So I got a Nerf dart, tied some floss around the end of it, tied the other end to his tooth. That way he had control. Because I didn't want it to be a traumatic moment for him. And so
it's not going to be a traumatic moment. You're just going to fire a rocket that yanks the tooth out of your mouth.
Dart in the gun. He cocked it, shoots it, tooth out.
I'm never need a loose tooth.
Yes, you will.
No, I won't.
JJ, soon.
Shoot it to the ground.
Where's the tooth?
Did it come out?
Let me look. Yep, it's out.
Wow. That's like, you know, that's exactly like, but different. The old standing at the top of the banister, tying a string to a toaster and the other end, and then dropping the toaster and yanking it.
I've never
seen that, like on
the door,
slamming the door. Yeah, it's like all of these cartoons and whatnot. That's how you do it.
This was way more fun.
Well, apparently.
And they don't usually get to shoot the Nerf guns because they shoot each other. So I had to go find a dart, because we bought a package of darts back when Toys R Us was closing years ago.
Oh.
It was for this moment.
Wow.
And so it just went.
Is it not one of those things he could have just kept wiggling and then popped out?
He wouldn't do it. He won't let me do the other one. So.
Well, that's a traumatic experience.
It wasn't traumatic.
Your tooth ripped out by a firearm.
Oh my goodness. But it was fun.
Oh, well, so did the Tooth Fairy come?
Yep.
What's the Tooth Fairy's going rate these days?
It's not the normal going rate, I could promise you that much.
Was the Tooth Fairy generous?
We didn't think too much about
how many teeth are in
that.
the
It was late at night, and we couldn't really decide when, you know, what was in the wallet, and we didn't check the Tooth Fairy's bank account, but Joshua got a $10. $10.
Oh dear Lord. Okay, that's ridiculous.
So it was first tooth, so.
Oh, the first two.
First tooth.
And then was there a little note that said, "Don't expect all the other ones to be this much"?
It said you get an extra generous present for the first tooth, you know. But
wow.
Normally, you know, like if you get $1, you're gonna be lucky.
I was gonna say I think we got 50 cents, but I know this was back in the day.
You gotta adjust for inflation and all that.
Maybe a quarter. I don't remember what we got. Wow. So do you put the tooth? Where do you put the tooth? Do you put it on the nightstand, or do you actually put it under the pillow?
Under the pillow.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. See, we never did that. We always had ours went into a cup on the at the side of our bed or whatever, that we put it in a little Dixie cup or something, and then the next day the Dixie cup had quarters in it.
Nice. Yeah. Your parents must have talked to the tooth fairy about not waking you up.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the way it happened in our home, I think.
Very good.
Yeah. So that's exciting.
Yeah.
First
so
tooth.
Running around with.
Now the next one is going to be short.
It could come.
Are the other ones coming up? Can you already see?
Yeah,
them?
you can see the other one. So.
Oh, these days of losing teeth and
growing up.
Growing new ones. Growing up. Your kids are almost graduating out of the house, Jonathan.
Don't talk like that. I can't handle it.
Oh, well.
Okay.
To the tooth fairy.
So that is something to celebrate, but...
Yes, today, November 4th.
November 4th.
Is, I always want to say 3rd, but we just did 3rd yesterday. That was Martin DePour's, but I always get that mixed up. For some reason in my head, it's like All Saints, All Souls, our feast day of St. Charles Borromeo. But no, there's a day break, and then it's the feast day of St. Charles Borromeo. November 4th, St. Charles Borromeo.
Did you bring cake?
Did I what?
Did you bring cake?
Yes. It's in the office. Diane, why don't you pick up some cake on your way in? Send. It'll be there, Jonathan, when we get there.
You know, every time you do that, doo-doo-doo-doo, a crown still pops up on your head.
Oh, you have to go back and watch.
Yeah.
Well, that's exciting. Well, no, today is the feast of St. Charles Borromeo, which is our parish patron. So here in the territorial parish of St. Charles Borromeo, and in every parish of St. Charles Borromeo, it ranks as a solemnity. In the rest of the church, it's just a memorial, an obligatory memorial. But in the church, in our church, it is a solemnity. So if you come to Mass today at the church, it'll look more like a Sunday Mass with everything, all of the readings, the Gloria, the Creed, the full 9 yards. It's celebrated up because we are celebrating our titular saint, titular feast, the title saint.
Are we going to have some incense going today?
Oh, probably not. Still daily Mass.
Okay, that's...
Still a daily Mass. So no, there won't be any incense going out, but we will have his the relic of St. Charles on display again for veneration, so that we can come in contact with that. He was quite a guy. You know, he followed upon the Tridentine reforms. That's the Council of Trent, which was part of the Counter-Reformation, or what we would call the Catholic Reformation.
Oh.
And he was really one of the big implementers of the reforms of Trent at a time when there was a lot of debauchery and, just bad things going on.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Not only in the state, but also kind of sort of in the church. Everything was all messed up.
You just let people do what they want to do.
Well, and it was part of the reason why, the Protestants were able to kick off the little hic burp again.
We'll talk about this Reformation stuff.
The
Should give
Reformation,
you a little,
just little indigestion. 500 years of indigestion. Woo. There we go. Get that out of my system. So today, St. Charles, pastor of pastors, really. He was known for his, he could have had it all. He was related to everyone powerful. He was of a noble family. He had people in the state government. He had people in the church that he was related to, like the Pope was his uncle, I think. And he was made a cardinal at a very young age, probably his early 20s, maybe.
Oh, man.
I mean, he was, so, and then he was put in charge of Vatican finances, and he was but he actually was a true servant. I mean, he was a priest and a bishop before being some kind of administrator, and this is why he's always just lifted up as being a model pastor, because he was like, look, we need to get things in order. So he called councils, and he was, whipping his brother bishops into shape and getting his clergy all reorganized and getting the people going. And, when someone comes in and stirs things up, raises a lot of hackles. So
I don't know anyone that comes in and stirs things up, changes things.
So they put a rope around, and I don't know if they actually put a rope around his neck, but they tried to kill him.
But he lived, the way you're talking is he lived the way we all are supposed to live, and
Really?
that the faith comes first.
Yep.
And everything follows suit. So him doing the finances for the Vatican or whatever job he was doing,
Yep.
if he was faithful to what he needed to be faithful to, those finances were going to fall in place. Obviously, he needs to have the skills and things to do those
Absolutely.
things.
He was a good administrator. However,
those are magnified and made better when you're taking care of the things that are most important.
Yeah.
Because you could have $1 billion at your parish, but if you're not celebrating any sacraments and teaching people and leading them astray, it's for nothing.
absolutely. Yeah, it doesn't matter how much money you've got rolling in if the faith is not being proclaimed and they're not being lived.
Mm-hmm.
So he really was trying to stir up the people, stir up his clergy, stir up everyone to a greater living of the Christian faith, and people wanted him dead. And so oftentimes you'll see a statue. If you see a statue of St. Charles, he'll be dressed in his cardinal red, and then he's usually got a noose hanging around his neck as a sign that there was an assassination attempt on him, but it was not successful. So he was not a martyr. I don't know if you could be a martyr if you're killed for political reasons. Maybe. I don't know. If it's related to the faith, sure. But yeah, I think we really saw him shine in the plague that struck Milan.
Yeah.
And as many government leaders left the sick and the dying, they just kind of fled town, locked themselves up, didn't want anything to do with it, got out of there. He remained, he served the poor, he served the sick, he made sure he was there for them, organized other people to be there for them. So he really becomes a model for us today.
Yeah, and we took the litany from him.
That's right. If you were part of the whole shutdown, nothing is happening days of spring and of yore, there was every night at 7 o'clock, we gathered virtually on Facebook Live for the Litany of Saints, which kind of came out of the tradition of St. Charles calling his people to just pray the Litany of the Saints over the city for the end of the pandemic, or the whatever it was called.
Yeah.
And we're going to do that again tonight.
7 p.m.
7 p.m. on Facebook Live. So if you don't have Facebook, you just go to our Facebook page, St. Charles, Omaha, and you will find us. 7 o'clock, I'll go live, lead you in the praying of the Litany of the Saints like we did so many, many months ago.
Back in the olden days.
Back in the old days. Back in the old days. This year is just zipping away.
That seems like so long ago.
It kind of does. When you just think about this year, it sort of blurs, and it's like, oh yeah, that happened halfway through Lent. Like, we got to the third Sunday of Lent, and then boom, I think it all died. Maybe the second Sunday.
I can't even remember
third
January
Sunday.
and February.
Barely. And then everything was just a different world till May. And then May, things just opened up a little bit. And they've just continued. So hopefully they continue on that progression, and that we'll see. We'll see.
We'll see.
So, what should we talk about today, Jonathan? What's on your agenda?
I don't even know.
Well, I think we said that we were going to cover
Death.
the death, dying, heaven, hell, purgatory. So this week, after November 1st to November 8th, is really an octave of our beloved dead. Mm-hmm. So we, in a particular way, offer prayers and indulgences for those who have died. And that indulgence, I mentioned last time, is granted now for the whole month of November. So you can go to any cemetery and there pray for the dead, and a plenary indulgence is implied to the soul that you offer it for.
Yeah, it makes sense. November is the month of the holy souls in purgatory,
Exactly.
our beloved deceased.
Yes,
and
so remember them.
Remember them, and then I think it's great that we'll be talking a little bit about death, because for death seems like such a terrible thing, and we've talked that it is a terrible and horrible thing,
right,
because the soul and the body get ripped apart.
Yep.
However, if that was the end, it would be the worst thing ever. But it's not the end. It's actually, hopefully, the beginning.
The beginning. In the Office of Readings for All Souls Day, I remember it was I think St. Ambrose, he was writing, and one of the things that he said is that death was not intended by the Creator. Obviously, he wouldn't intend the destroying of his creation, but that what has happened, that in Jesus Christ accepting death, He's taken this consequence of sin and he's flipped it around and turned it into something completely different.
Yeah.
And now it becomes not the end of our life, but the doorway and entrance into a whole new life. And it is so... It's a new beginning. So death is not something that necessarily needs to be feared, especially if we are prepared and ready.
Yeah, I think of some really great saints that had been very ill and, kind of on their deathbed, but they're so joyful knowing that they're going to encounter the Lord. And that's how we should approach it. I mean, this world... It would be sad to leave this world because it's all we've known.
Right? Yeah, that's the thing.
But, so it's the unknown is the scary part, but the unknown is that the blessing of all blessings.
Yeah.
The greatest thing that could ever be. Because
the how and exactly what is still a little murky. And so we're not exactly sure about that.
Yeah.
C.S. Lewis always described, he says, we just can't grasp, our minds can't grasp this because it's like a child who goes to school for the first time and they experience Christmas break. And it's just a marvelous, marvelous experience. It's like, oh, Christmas break, 2 weeks off or so from school, and it's the holidays and the gatherings and all of that in normal times. I don't know what's going to happen this year, but that you get this Christmas break, and then you tell the child in January, oh, you thought Christmas break was great. You just wait till summer vacation. And it's like they say to you, nothing could be better than Christmas break, because they have no concept of what summer vacation is yet, that it's even longer.
Right. And
more things happen and are going on.
it's not 2 degrees outside.
Exactly. So it's the same thing with eternity. It's like, well, all we're experiencing here, in the blessings of this world is Christmas break.
Yep.
And those are great things, and it's wonderful and all that, but summer vacation is coming up, and that's even better. And we just like, it couldn't be any better than the best things I know here.
We live in the negative 12 degrees. And we're going to go enjoy the sunny and 75.
Jonathan, this weather this week is gorgeous. Perfect fall.
I think it might actually get to sunny and 75 at some
Exactly.
point this week, so.
It was like this weekend. Sunday was the cold day this week, and it was a pretty decent fall day. So we're going to have some nice, at least here, if you're not experiencing what we're experiencing here, I'm sorry.
I didn't talk about Sunday yesterday, but we closed out Vala's.
What do you mean you closed out Vala's?
So
when was their last day?
Sunday was their last day, November 1st.
Okay.
And normally they close Halloween, but since Halloween fell on a Saturday, they stayed open for Sunday. It closed at 9 p.m. We got into our car at 8:56.
Wow. Did they have to throw you out?
No.
Is it like loudspeakers going on? Get out of here!
Had I known we were that close, I would have maybe
waited until they threw you out.
Loitered around for a few more minutes.
You just want to be the
but
last
it was
person.
me and the boys.
I'm surprised they don't, when the weather's nice like this, that they look ahead and say, oh, look, this next week is going to be open, so we're going to just keep it going.
But it's all the volunteers and stuff they need to be able to coordinate. They have a lot of people working in there.
I suppose.
But we really enjoy Vala's. It's a good place, and
He's been the one-man advertiser. I think Vala's owes us a little...
free season passes
something
next year.
With all the advertising that Jonathan's been given and all the shout-outs for Vala's Pumpkin Patch.
Yeah. No, it's a fun place. And
so it closes down. Just like your life. Closes down.
What do you mean?
We're talking about death.
Oh, yes.
You veered us off track.
I did.
I'm looking for a handy transition back onto the path. Just like Vala's closes down.
I don't even know how I turned into Vala's, but
I don't either. Oh, we're talking about lovely weather.
Oh, yes.
Because the eternal springtime, the eternal blessedness, all of that happiness.
Yeah, eternal springtime. That is a great...
Yeah, there's always the new life, the new life, the new life, the new life. It just keeps blossoming and getting better and better and better. These are good things. These are good things. So I had a reflection the other day on All Souls Day that the reading. So there's a lot of readings that you can pick for the Mass of All Souls Day. Basically, you can choose any of the funeral readings for All Souls Day.
Got it.
So I kind of went through, and the gospel that I chose to center on this year was the gospel on the raise. Well, it's just before the raising of Lazarus. So it's the conversation that Jesus has with his sister Martha, Lazarus' sister Martha. And she's like, "Oh, Lord, if you would have been here, he wouldn't have died." And at the end of it, she makes that profession of faith that I believe you are the Christ, the one who is coming into the world. And I love that turn of phrase, who is coming into the world. Not like who has come into the world and it's all done, but who is coming. Like it's a constant, continual, never-ending coming into the world. That it happens in the present and continues to happen and move forward.
I'm going to have to go back and just read that again because you wouldn't normally speak that way.
Yeah, you are the one who is coming into the world.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
So,
and it's just this deep faith that applies to us today.
Yeah.
That Christ is coming into the world, and he is bringing us back to life, and he is redeeming us. That all of these things are ongoing. You know, we say it often on here, Christianity, our faith, is not a one and done sort of thing. That it's like, oh, I was baptized, or oh, I accepted Jesus Christ, or oh, now I can be done and move on. These are things that are processes and processions, really. Maybe that's why we like to do processions in church and walk around from place to place, because our life is a procession. It is a process of moving forward, and it's just such a beautiful thing.
That is.
But not only was Martha's faith important there, and that Jesus was going to prove to her that he is resurrecting by calling his friend out of the tomb, but what Martha did was she participated in the raising of her brother to new life. Mm-hmm. So she was having this conversation, and she said, "Yes, Lord, I believe that you are the resurrection. I believe that my brother will rise again. I believe." And in this conversation that she was having with Jesus, it prompted him, I think, to call him out from the tomb. So he would have done it anyway. We know Scripture said that he found out Lazarus was dying. He didn't go right away. He's like, I'll get around to that. He wasn't in a hurry. He wasn't in a hurry because he knew what he was going to do. So he knew he was going to raise Lazarus from the dead as a sign to everyone. But the fact that he let Martha participate in that is really what All Souls Day was about and what the whole month of November is about. That Jesus lets us participate in the raising of our brothers and sisters to new life.
Very cool.
It's a beautiful thing. So it's like, who do I want to participate in salvation and the raising to new life today? Who's it going to be?
Every day we can do it.
Every day. And that's what that plenary indulgence is throughout the month of November. Stop by a cemetery, and there's not one far from here. There's that little cemetery up on Q Street on 180 something.
Yeah, something like that.
I'm not even sure what it is. It's like a block big. It's not terribly big, but you can just, on your way to Hy-Vee or something, it's like, zip.
You don't have to get out of your car?
You don't even have to get out of your car. You can unroll your window, and you don't even have to unroll your window. The Holy Spirit can get in. He has a way. Yeah, you can just be in the cemetery. It's sacred space. And I know it's not a Catholic cemetery, but it is nevertheless a cemetery, and it is hallowed ground in that sense. Yeah. So we pray, that's what we ought to do. Or you can transfer your All Souls Day intention, as we said. If you didn't do it on All Souls Day, transfer it to some other day.
Excellent. I have something.
You go.
It's a question.
Is it more about vows?
I can delete it.
Okay.
But
you can delete
last weekend we were discussing
like All Saints Day.
On All Saints Day, there's a small gathering, outdoor gathering, safe.
That you and some friends were.
All Saints. We got together to
All Saints party.
All Saints party,
okay.
And the question was asked. The movie out. Oh my goodness, Wilson. Castaway was brought up.
Okay. Yeah.
So now Tom Hanks, his character, and his fiance, I think, at the beginning.
This has nothing to do.
It has to do with death.
Oh, it has something to do with death. But
so if they were married first,
His first wife and he.
Yeah, but in the movie they weren't actually married. But he was just there's like a engagement or something.
Oh, I thought they were married.
The person that watched it recently said they weren't, but they might have been married.
Okay, whatever. I haven't seen it in years and years.
So
anyway,
let's say they were married.
let's pretend that the two were
Tom
married.
Hanks goes off, cast it away, blah blah blah. At the end of the movie, he comes back and she is remarried. And well, I think they shared a kiss or something. That was weird. But how would the church view that if someone is thought to be dead and then you get remarried? Like I said, I could delete this.
That's a good point. Because death is the undoing of marriage. So marriage is until death do us part. And marriage breaks that, or death breaks the bond of marriage. And so in this case, where I think he must have been presumed legally dead. So like 7 years passes and there's no known whatever, and you can then go through the process of declaring someone to be legally dead. And so at that point, I think the church would have, let's say, because she would have, let's assume that she had a church wedding. So she would have married, in the church, and so she would have had to provide a death certificate proving the death of her previous spouse. And then this happens, and he shows up again, and well, it turns out he's not dead. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. That is a good question. I don't know what the idea, because theoretically their bond was not broken. Her marriage to this guy over here, the second marriage, certainly would not have been sinful or adulterous or any way, because she acted with the assumption that the previous bond was null and void. I suppose a hard reading of the law would say, now that we have learned things we did not know before, though you were not culpable for this thing, this marriage is still in place. And I suppose, I don't know if it would be an external process that something could be done, or if it would just be one of those internal confessional things where basically, look, we all assumed that this was over, you acted in good faith, we're just not going to do anything in the external forum, so continue living in this new situation that you have now. But I guess the previous spouse, he comes back and he's like, but I've always considered myself married to you. I don't know. Okay, death and dying.
Death and dying.
Just like the show. Oh, Jonathan. We've got some celebrating to do for this feast day of the solemnity of St. Charles Borromeo. Tonight, Litany of the Saints, for all of you who are interested in that. And tomorrow, we'll go forward with a little bit, maybe just talking about the four last things: death, judgment, heaven, and hell. And then maybe we can go into each of those a little more in depth.
Excellent.
All right.
Go feast.
Have a cupcake or something today. Diane, hope you brought it to the office, because we're about ready to open the door and see
I
you.
am hungry.
Bye-bye, all.
Bye.